better neighborhood because of the
Yeah.
the stadium.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would just assume would happen in most places because once you have a stadium, right, you're gonna have somebody's gonna open up a cool stadium bar across the street, somebody's gonna open up a shirt store, and somebody's gonna open up an ice cream shop. It's like because you're gonna have 20,000 people walking in front of your doors, 88 games a year or whatever it is, right?
No, it'll have. The thing about it needs to happen with these newer stadiums. Oakland is like the last of like the multi-use stadiums, so there's nothing inviting about it. You just walk up, it's like this big stone slab of concrete everywhere. Versus where you go to like literally any other new stadium, it's something to see. They've built in attraction. They've made it look pretty. They've made it eye-catching. It appeals to the neighborhood and aesthetic in general. Where like I said, that Oakland Stadium, it's so bad, man. Like you say, and there's nothing like that. There's no across the street bar. There's nothing, man, because there's nothing across the street. It's literally in the middle of a freaking lot. That's surrounded by a huge parking lot. That's it. It's not like it's not inviting.
That's bizarre. I mean, I would think that with the cost of property in California being what it is, that somebody with some real money and vision would do something with that. It's like the guy across the street isn't like holding on to a $50,000 lot. It's probably worth $500,000 just in area, right? It's like, why would you let that just sit? Why would you let it sit and do nothing?
No one doing anything there. It's trust me, bro.
I mean, I believe you. You've been there
before they tear it down. I've been there a zillion times.
I 100% believe you. It seems like rather odd.
And it's crazy. You go across the street to San Francisco to the Bay, right? And the Giant Stadium is like built like on the street, like on the water, across the street. Like you say, there's 100 great bars across the street. You can get the burgers across the street. There's everything you can get. It's so good. And T-shirt stands, like you said, it's improved the whole entire look of the neighborhood. Same thing in Baltimore when they built. I remember when they built that stadium in Baltimore. I was living in D.C. area at that time, and they tore down a gross part of Baltimore, and now it's like this beautiful inner harbor, and they'd completely redone the whole thing. And it's just amazing what a baseball stadium can do to an area. It's the same thing in St. Louis. They did the same thing there. I'm thinking of some of the ballparks that I've been to.
No, most of them are like
Seattle, same thing.
I've talked to you at length about Tampa Stadium, but where they're at in St. Pete, you actually do drive through the bad part of St. Petersburg. And when I say when I make that joke about our bad parts are not, because I grew up in Chicago, it's nothing like Chicago's bad parts or New York's bad parts or Oakland's bad parts, but you have to drive through a fairly poor neighborhood to get there. They're poor. Sure. They're not bad people. They're just poor.
There is a distinction.
It's like, yeah. So but it's made the area around the thing pretty well, and almost any of them will let you park on their lawn for $10. So
it's funny. Well, you want to talk about something else? You want to talk about some? We didn't get to talk about Christian Yelich when we were talking about the All-Star game. I kind of want to talk about him a little bit.
Is there anything new that we need to know about Christian Yelich? He's good, right?
That he is on pace for a historic season that I didn't realize how great he was doing, that nobody in the history of MLB has ever done. That if he finishes this year in the pace that he's at with 60 homers and 35 stolen bases, no one in the history of baseball has ever done that.
Yeah, that is a little bit weird.
It's crazy. You gotta respect we're not talking about it at this point.
Well, I mean, I think that there's like I think that sports the mainstream sports broadcasting area does a pretty good job of tamping down certain stories. And if you're going to talk about a story about someone doing something that's that far out of the norm, it's going to bring with it probably 3 stories about wonder what drugs that guy's using. You know what I mean? I guess we've seen a couple guys pop positive this year, but I hope we're past that. No, I mean, I don't know how you can really get completely past it. We actually talked about it at length in the dugout. It's like, what could be other reasons for this? And there are other things that could be reasons for it. But the truth is, if Christian Yelich does something in baseball that no one in the history of baseball has ever done, and Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa and all these other guys couldn't do it with tons of stimulants and things in their veins.
Okay.
How does that actually happen? There has to be something significantly different about today's game.
There is something significantly different. If you look at it, right now, Major League Baseball this year is on pace to hit, I heard the stat again today, I couldn't believe it, 1,000 more homers than its best year ever, which was last year. That's crazy right now.
That's all we talked about.
And the ball is super juiced. That's why. That's it right there. That explains everything to me. That doesn't say that anyone has to be on steroids. It says to me that we're playing in an environment that is better than the peak of the steroid era, which was 99 and 2000.
Well, no matter what happens, you have to agree that something abnormal is occurring, whether it's inside the person's bodies or outside the person's body is the thing. It's like you're dating this girl, Dan, right? And on one side you can have the fake breasts where they put it under the skin, and on the other side she can use pad in her bra. But either way, there's something false going on, right? That's what you're looking at. But you have to agree one or the other. Either they're juicing or the ball is substantially juiced. Yeah.
The ball is juiced. In my opinion, that's 100% what's going on right now. I believe it's the ball. And the one thing, like I said, you have the control, which is the MLB, and you can see, okay, here's the numbers that are going up in MLB. But then you take the ball and you put it in AAA, and it goes crazy, and you see, oh crap! I mean, we've had this sustained home run rate with this ball in AAA. Now we bring in this new factor, and it goes out of control. It makes you have to see that. Oh, maybe it's the ball is the biggest factor in all of this. I mean, look what they were willing to do with the balls in Colorado to sustain home run rates. They were willing to put them in a humidor because they realized the balls were a factor.
They were trying to drop them by putting in the humidor.
Exactly, they were trying to keep them from hitting because essentially they were getting too dry. They were just like cigars. They were getting too dry, and then when they were hitting, they were just they would take off. So they realized they got to keep a little bit of weight to them to keep them a little bit more moist, and that keeps them from being hit out of the park at such a rate. Well, Major League Baseball's got to do something about these baseballs. But I don't think Christian Yelich's season necessarily signifies that it has to be a steroid-related thing. It's a young kid.
It doesn't have to be. But if you do things that are, like literally, we're keeping people out of the Hall of Fame for having these monstrous numbers based on the fact that they injected their bodies with things. If you are outscoring them, people are right to at least go, is something up?
Well, he's probably then let him get tested.
Well, you
know what I mean. All these guys are getting tested. I mean, like, if someone's going to pop, they're going to pop, unless they're doing the kind of things that A-Rod was doing, which was jumping through hoops and shooting yourself up and stuff in the bathroom of a nightclub and stuff like that. One
of the things that I always say is that no Yankee has ever got caught, taking steroids. No one's ever failed a piss test. Is that true? No, they've been caught. They just never failed a piss test. It's like, and we know that from after the fact that we know that Clemens and not Rigetti.
Didn't A-Rod get suspended over all that stuff?
He got caught because federal investigators raided a doctor's office in Miami, and they had records with him on there, and those records also had also pinged two other Yankees, Melky Cabrera and believe it or not, Francisco Cervelli, but those guys never failed a test either. And I'm not saying it's like I think the Yankees have the test down cold. But if a team can, if I watch Rob Cano play for the Yankees for years and years and years, then he leaves for Seattle and within 15 months he fails a test, it's like, well, he probably didn't just start taking those. It's like there's something up.
So what you're saying, you think that you're saying essentially that there's a cover-up organization wide.
Well, no, I think
it's a nice conspiracy theory, Doug. I dig it.
No, I think that the people that mask those tests are really good at it, and the Yankees aren't the only team that are stopping it. If you remember, it's like the only guy that ever got caught was Ryan Braun, and he beat it on a technicality, right?
Yeah, over what? Like saying that the guy was fucking anti-Semitic? But that was so ridiculous.
It's still a thing. It's like he was totally shocked. But it's one of those things when Frankie Montas got popped last week. It's like,
God, that was the worst.
He can't be. Frankie Montas was number 2 in pitcher WAR in the American League, behind Lance Lynn.
Oh, that was so
and I think
sad.
He still is. But I actually thought I had a little gem that I found in one league. Like, oh, look at that.
I got him picked up in one of my leagues as well. I was super excited about him.
Yeah, it's like, all right, back to the drawing board. Let's go trot out J.A. Happ again.
Right?
but that's no. I'm just saying that people will rightfully ask those questions based on the fact that you're doing more. If you hit more home runs than the guys that were juicing hit home runs, they're right to question you. You can be totally clean, but the questioning is going to be there, and the questioning is justified.
Kevin says it, though, and he's a true baseball fan. He knows it. Yelich finally did what we wanted him to do, hit more fly balls. That's it. He's hit more fly balls in a more fly ball hitting environment, and he's still been able to keep up that pace. I mean, if MLB is not pushing this guy Yelich through the moon right now, they're making a bad decision.
No, he's. I mean, I'm a Cub fan, and by design, I'm really got to be down on the Brewers, and I respect what he's done. And I'm not saying, for instance, that he's taking these things. I'm just saying that a person is right to ask. A person is justified in asking those questions when this happens. If you break home record by a little bit, maybe, but when it's 1,000, something's going on.
He's not breaking any record. The home run record's 72. I don't think he's going to break
that.
But he's going to hit 60.
60.
We haven't seen that combination of power and speed ever.
60 is the magic number, right? In the history of baseball, there have been two guys that have hit 60 home runs once that are what we would call without question marks. So when you start saying 60, now, if it would be much better for him to hit 52 home runs and steal 49 bases, right? Because there'll be fewer questions, but he's going to do what he does, you know? But once you cross that 60 number, that's when you start having the problem.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting. I mean, we've seen guys in the 40-40 club. We've never seen anyone do a 60-40 or 60-35, what he's on pace for, which like I said, it's out of control. And I just want to draw, we all realize how great of a season he's having, but I just didn't think that anyone's really been talking about the fact that he's having that great of a season on that potentially historic type of pace.
Yeah, no, it's pretty darn amazing. I was, I own Yelich on one team, and I drafted him with the 10th pick overall, and I really didn't want him, but at 10, I'm like, holy crap, how can this fall this far?
Yeah, sure. He might be, like I said, if he puts that kind of season, there's going to be consideration for him probably being the number one pick next year.
Yeah. Him, Trout.
Kevin asked in the chat room, is Montes a 2020 keeper at $10? I'd probably say yes. It's a lot of it's going to depend. I mean,
what's
how many games?
It's $10
he's probably
for
done for the season at this point.
He'll
probably only come back with like
$10 for next year. That's right about where he's at. But yeah, I wouldn't keep him for much more than that. Maybe 13. But yeah, 10. He's an alright keeper unless you have a lot of better keepers and can't afford it. But the truth is, when people take these drugs, for the most part, most of the positive effect stays with them. The only thing that doesn't stay with them is capacity.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I don't recall too many guys coming back from PED suspensions and really having,
the only worry after
huge
the fact,
regressions.
The only worry after
is that
the
they
fact,
get popped again, right?
Well, yeah, I guess 10% on getting popped again, but it does seem that once they get busted, they tend to be a little bit more injury prone afterwards. That's the thing that happens. Is like the purpose of taking a PED for the most part is to heal quicker. Once they're off the PEDs, they go to the DL a lot more.
Interesting.
That's the only.
Yep, I guess it doesn't. It definitely helps with recovery. I would like to be taking some PEDs right now.
If I were to say that Frankie Montes were going to pitch the 28 games next year, $10 would probably be a bargain. The only reason I bring it down to 10 and I wouldn't pay much more is because I don't think I would bet you that pitchers are always getting injured anyway, but he's probably only going to pitch 22 games, 24 games. He's going to miss some time next year because everybody does.
Interesting.
But anyway, that's what I thought. So that's what I tell you, Kevin. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? That's actually one of the things I would talk. They're like these two real sort of inside baseball topics. And one was because you keep touting this guy on this guy O'Leary on
sure,
Twitter.
yeah, Chris O'Leary.
And he's
you read what he has to say?
No, and he's good. He's good, but the criticisms of him I understand. It's like, and it kind of goes to me personally, right? And that's what I want to get to. It's like this year because I have a broadcast. Normally the only things I do are kind of behind the scenes math stuff. My name's on a couple of articles in different places, and I'm a co-writer. But I really never do rankings or say this guy's going to be good or whatever. I'm the guy that points out statistical anomalies. This year, I've probably said X number. I've said this guy's going to be good this year. This guy's going to be bad this year. And a handful of them I'm really proud of. I'm proud of Hunter Pence. I'm proud of Cole Calhoun. I'm proud of a number of these guys. I've also said some that are wrong. And the criticism of O'Leary is that it's like he's predicted injuries on a lot of players, and yes, he's right about 3 or 4 of them. It's like I don't know how can I know? Let's not make it about him or even about you. Make it about me. How can I know if I'm making good predictions or if I'm just remembering the ones that hit and the ones that aren't? I mean, I come from a stock brokerage background, right? And so I'm actually, I have 26, 28 years of